Jack Wilshere was supposed to become the engine of English football, the linchpin of the midfield, the kid we glimpsed against Barcelona, who looked like he had seen the future and was unafraid of it. But instead, Jack Wilshere became something else. A kind of story, the cautionary one. A name that evokes a sigh before it does a highlight. But he's not the only one of the English football wonderkids who, when we remember them more with melancholy than we do remember them draped in glory. David Bentley, Jonathan Woodgate, Michael Johnson, Ross Barkley, Jadon Sancho, Dele Alli, and yes, even Ballon d'Or winner Michael Owen. Careers that held great hope but fell short, whether by injuries or ill-fitting teams or something else entirely. These aren't just players that ended up with disappointing careers. They were promises to the world of English football that something new was coming. And these were promises that were not kept. This is the disheartening history of the English football wonderkid. Let's rewind again to 2011. Arsenal is up against Barcelona in the Champions League, and this Barcelona team is one of the greatest club teams in the history of the sport. They were spearheaded by Lionel Messi and the historically good midfield trio of Iniesta, Xavi, and Busquets. As the Barcelona stars pinged the ball around, most opposing midfielders were simply swallowed by their orbit, their greatness. Only a player with a youthful, brash belief that he was good enough could possibly compete. Jack Wilshere was 19 years old when he lined up for Arsenal in 2011. He believed he could hold his own, but he was wrong. He could do so much more. Wilshere danced through the midfield like he was above that Catalan triangle. He was peerless, like a boy who'd wandered into a dream and refused to wake up. Every touch was precise, every decision made from instinct, a perfect representation of the beautiful Arsenal way of football. For 90 minutes, Jack Wilshere didn't just belong on the same pitch as the greatest midfield of all time, he outshone them. He was fearless and fluid and everything that England had been waiting for. And in that game, a collective decision was made. Jack Wilshere was next. England is a country deeply intertwined with the sport of football. It's ingrained into the fabric of the society. English teenagers grow up playing the game, and of course the top club league in the world is located there, the Premier League. But despite being named the home of football, England has not been hugely successful on the international stage. The Three Lions have not won the FIFA World Cup since 1966 and have never won the European Championships. English sides bring great deals of hope into the tournaments, only to consistently fall short by some cruel twist of fate. Argentina toppled England in 1986 behind Maradona's hand of God goal that should have never counted. Germany eliminated them on penalties in 1996, and Germany again in 2010 after a Frank Lampard goal was disallowed for some reason.
No, say the officials, over the line or not? Yes, most definitely, it's well over. England are denied an equaliser.
They finished as runners-up in the 2020 and 2024 Euros, despite having what many, and not just home fans, believed was the best squad in the world. But numerous heartbreaks haven't beaten English fans down. They still sing "It's Coming Home" as an anthem of belief, while the top ranks of football are dominated by South American or African players, or players from other European countries. There have been great English players, Becca, Scholes, Gaza, but they've always been just that tier below the absolute elites of world football, and importantly, they haven't led their country to a major trophy. England's seeming obsession with the Wonderkid isn't just about football, it's about hope. Every few years, there's this new boy wonder. Young, hungry, and local. A footballer who grew up kicking the ball around their gardens in Nottingham or Stoke or Southampton, and then playing on the neighborhood fields in Manchester or Shrewsbury or Birmingham before rising in the ranks through the academies and then becoming a symbol of what could be. English football could be on top of the world again, so praise and expectations are heaped upon them until it's near impossible to live up to. And that's the thing with English Wonderkids. It's a contract, and the fine print always reads, "We expect everything forever." Arsenal won that 2011 game against Barcelona, but would go on to win the tie on aggregate after being beaten 3-1 in the second leg. That Barcelona team would go on to sweep the Champions League and the Spanish League, looking near unbeatable as they did. In the lead up to the next season, Jack Wilshere hobbled off with an ankle injury that sidelined him for 15 months. Hope still lived on, though. Upon his return to the Arsenal squad over a year later, there were glimpses of his undeniable talent and potential greatness. Dimly lit pubs around England filled with murmurs. Could Jack Wilshere be back? But it became clear that after coming back from injury, Jack was slower, not as bold, not as fearless. His feet still guided the ball around the pitch with the class that only God can provide, but he wasn't able to match up in the top ranks of the game. In 2014, the most enduring highlight of Wilshere's career came when he scored this truly spectacular goal against Norwich. The build-up to the goal was more like jazz than it was sports, and as Jack tapped the ball home, he scored what would eventually be crowned the goal of the season. But this highlight wasn't a reset on the promise of Jack Wilshere. Over the next years, more injuries and more setbacks came. His game continued to regress, and he looked less and less himself. He still had the vision and the abilities, but none of the explosiveness. In 2018, he left Arsenal. At West Ham, he only played 19 times in 2 years, and at 30 years old, he retired. No farewell tour, no fanfare, just a personal letter posted on Twitter that detailed the frustration and sadness that accompanied a career of sky-high hopes that slipped away outside of his control. But long before Jack Wilshere left the sport, English hopes had left him in favor of another Wonderkid, and then another, and then another. There's legions of what could have beens in English football history. David Bentley was supposed to be the heir to David Beckham, the next great technician with the kind of swagger that made headlines before he even delivered consistently. But he didn't want that mantle. Bentley fell out of love with the game. Instead, the spotlight, the machine of modern football wore him down. He walked away at 29, not because he had to, because he didn't see the point anymore. Sir Alex Ferguson said he was the most gifted player he'd ever seen. At 17, Ravel Morrison was gliding more than he was running and scoring goals that made defenders look like props. But then, legal issues and discipline problems derailed his progress. He played for 13 clubs in 9 countries, and every new club felt like a second chance, and then a third, and then a fourth. And then Ravel Morrison was just a memory. Jack Rodwell came up at Everton as a composed and intelligent midfielder who was calm in possession. When Manchester City bought him for £12 million in 2012, he was supposed to be the anchor for the English midfield alongside the creative spark of Wilshere. But injuries mounted and form dipped, and he simply became unextraordinary. He transferred to Sunderland, where he earned £70,000 a week, but barely played. Jonathan Woodgate was signed by Real Madrid, the proof that English fans had been waiting for. The biggest club in the world were signing an English Wonderkid, and surely that was a confirmation that their hopes were properly in the right place. But his first game in Spain resulted in disaster, an own goal, and a red card. Injuries kept him off the pitch in Madrid before he returned to his home country, where he remained a ghost of his former self for the rest of his career. There was a version of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain who could have been anything. He had the burst and the unstoppable speed that made you believe he could change games single-handedly. But between injuries, struggling with finishing, and dips in form, he never found a perfect fit at Arsenal or Liverpool, and the football world moved on. Despite his speed, he never caught up. And now he's not even the most prominent figure in the world with the AOC initials. Ross Barkley felt like a hybrid of Gerrard and Gascoigne. He had drive and power combined with elegance. He scored long-range goals that made you believe the hype, but he never took his game to the next level of consistency. Barkley is still playing in the Premier League, but behind him is the kind of career built on flashes, not sustained greatness. Before the oil money came, Manchester City was a team run by a teenager. In 2007, Michael Johnson was running Manchester City's midfield like he'd been doing it for years. He timed his runs and placed his attacks perfectly. He was considered England's next big thing and named a successor to some of England's greatest players, But then the injuries came, and they came hard and fast. Within just 5 years, at the young age of 24, Michael Johnson was out of the game completely, never realizing his promise. He now works as an estate agent and trades cars. Michael Owen was the youngest Ballon d'Or winner since George Best, a former British star himself. Owen was lightning in human form. When he scored that goal against Argentina at age 18, we all believed. Then he spent the next decade trying to live up to that. Michael Owen did win trophies, he did score goals, and he did spend a few years at the top of the sport, but he also never really found a club to call home. Posted disappointing performances in important games, and by just 33 years old, his career was done. He may have done lots, but he still feels like one of the great what-ifs. When Jadon Sancho left England at just 17 to go to Borussia Dortmund, it felt like a breakthrough. An English teenager betting on himself and not just staying at home where he might get too comfortable. And for a while, he looked like the future of football. Then came the return to England, moving to Manchester United for a massive £73 million and the weight of an empire. He looked slow and hesitant and stiff. He disappeared from the pitch and then the squad, and he now spends his days out on loan trying to convince the world and maybe himself that he's still got it. Dele Alli didn't just play football. With flicks, nutmegs, and no-look goals, he was made for highlight reels. By 21, he scored more Premier League goals than Gerrard and Lampard had at that age. England's great attacking hope, even helping them to the semi-finals of the 2018 World Cup. But after the form dipped and the spotlight flickered, his club moved on. He was filling headlines more with off-the-field controversies than he was on-the-field brilliance. There's still hope for a happy ending, as he's joined the Czech Fabregas coach team in Como, Italy, but it's not the level of hope that there once was. Another English wonderkid lost to time. Let's be super clear, not every English player turns out to be a disappointment. At just 16 years old, Wayne Rooney was already declared the biggest talent in the country and subsequently became England's youngest ever international goal scorer and had a career full of incredible moments and titles. He did overlap with the Ronaldo-Messi era, and so he never got the full spotlight, but he was unequivocally great. And it's not just Rooney. Paul Scholes, David Beckham, Harry Kane, Steven Gerrard, and Frank Lampard all have carried the weight of English hopes over the years. It's just that that weight is so heavy and so quickly bestowed that there's many more examples of wonderkids who filled the headlines of papers around England before eventually falling into football obscurity. Players who were once called the future, but never got time to grow into the present. Perhaps this pattern is slowing down. Jude Bellingham, Cole Palmer, and Bukayo Saka have risen with the spotlight, not been scorched by it. They are already world-class at a young age, and so far, don't seem to be in a rush. They seem protected in ways that past generations were not, whether it's just having a better head on their shoulders, being surrounded by better infrastructure, more patient coaching, or maybe, most importantly, a culture that is learning to wait before it worships. Bellingham, Palmer, and Saka aren't just fleeting hopes or viral clips that make English fans believe. They look like the real deal. But if we start hearing them called the savior of England or the one person who can bring football home again, maybe the pressures will mount again and the pattern will start anew. And then it becomes Miles Lewis-Skelly or Kobbie Mainoo or Rico Lewis. Maybe there always needs to be an English wonderkid. In his retirement letter, Jack Wilshere wrote that, "I have enjoyed every moment of my career, and it has been the journey of a lifetime. Now is the right time to close this chapter, but I still have so much to give to the game, and I am excited about what the future holds." Jack held that promise true, beginning his coaching career with Arsenal in 2022, fittingly coaching the club's youth team, watching young players carry the weight of potential the way that he once did. He could have vanished. Many do, but he didn't. Maybe that's his second act, and maybe that's enough. Jack Wilshere, and many before and after him, helped English fans to hope and to believe. Perhaps it's fitting that the most enduring member of Jack Wilshere's career was that magical goal against Norwich. A goal that was much better than the sum of its parts. This wasn't a moment of individual brilliance. This was a team effort, and it just happened to be Wilshere's name on the score sheet. But in that goal, we glimpsed the magic that we fell in love with. The possibility that Jack Wilshere and other English wonderkids before and after him could maybe lead England back on top of the footballing world. Thank you for watching this video. I truly hope that you enjoyed it. If you like this kind of content about sports, you should subscribe for more, and you should check out some more of the videos that are on my channel. I'll see you in the next one.